mission, and we always like to repeat it. It's we are working for making sports sustainable, and
Right.
which actually we believe it's actually makes the sport sustainable. It's the community around it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, because we of course we can have players, we can have coaches, we can have federations or governing bodies or associations or even partners,
Sure.
suppliers and many people and stakeholders working around the sports. But
Yeah.
if we do not have fans, if you do not have community, you don't have anything.
Right.
So
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Global podcast. And today I'm here with Fernando Jaume. And Fernando, how are you? How's life?
thank you so much, Ole. I'm doing very well here. Hope you're doing the same, and glad to be here with you guys and all the sporting global community.
Absolutely. And first of all, congrats on your newborn child as well. I know it was in December, but it's still pretty fresh, I
Yeah.
would say. How does it feel to be, a father and all this,
It's a whole new adventure. By
Yeah.
the way, I'm pretty sure you know most of you or some of you already know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's a lot of happiness at the same time.
Right.
So we are feeling really good. I mean, we are just happy. We are enjoying the moment. We are enjoying her and seeing her grow.
As you should. Well, I mean, like it's an amazing feeling. I mean, like I'm not, family, all that stuff yet, but now we'll dive into the podcast. But it's always good to hear, and kind of like have to ask, how it is, and
Absolutely.
glad to
Thank you.
have you part of the podcast because we're gonna talk about like some interesting stuff, of course, like your journey, the work that you're doing at LEVERADE as well, and a lot of the cool stuff that is happening there. And I just wanted to start a little bit about if you could take us a little bit back to sort of like how your journey in the sport industry began. Just take us. I know you're Brazilian. Big passion for sports and football there, but kind of
Uruguayan.
you're
I'm
Uruguayan.
Uruguayan. Next to Brazil,
Next to
but
Brazil,
not that close.
Uruguay, we we got that out, so to get it right. Uruguay, of course, and I was a big passion for sports and football there too, of course.
Definitely.
And tell me a little bit through kind of like, I guess, where that passion and love came for that is leading you into working for sports and in sports today.
I guess that everything, I mean, probably as most things in life started, with the essentials. And
Mm.
it happens probably during my childhood. I mean, I used to practice a lot of sports. My parents always kept me doing something,
Right.
uh, moving my body somehow. So I practice mountain biking, I practice soccer, I practice tennis, I practice paddle, I swim. So I think that my passion for sports and also through sports began on my childhood and on my early years. Then
Right.
afterwards, of course, I mean, once you start building your career and your expertise and your expertise, um, somehow the business got involved with the passion, right?
Right.
And I think that's I don't know if it was a path that I necessarily looked for, but somehow the opportunity came and I took it.
That's awesome. And I mean, like, it's you're right. I think we a lot of people that it's like in sports today, they just have like this what can I say, it's just started from the beginning, like all the way at the childhood memory. Of course, like I think like most people have like some sort of story or relations to sport, whether they maybe like it or not, but there's always some sort of involvement. And I guess like sports just have that impact on people. And moving a little bit forward as well, just take us a little bit, I guess, through like your educational route, like some of the stuff that the companies that you worked on, and then we're leading up a little bit to your work at Leverada, to today.
Well, I mean, on my early professional years, career years, I had the opportunity of joining Specialized Bicycle Components, which actually my career in sporting goods started
Nice.
back in 2009 or something like that.
Right.
Um, that was like my first experience.
Mhm.
And sports, it was not that easy to find at that time a professional opportunity on sports.
Right, right.
And again, somehow I was there, the opportunity was there, I took it and I started.
Hmm.
They were right in the middle of that internalization process in Latin America.
Yeah.
And I was one of the first people and hired on the team. Then afterwards, I had the opportunity also with them of jumped into Chile and opening a new market, new company in a new market. Um, and finally, with ASICS, the same thing in Chile and Peru, always on the corporate side, for saying it
Hmm.
somehow, in the sporting goods industry, right?
Right,
So that's where the sports and the business and the corporate thing got related.
right, right. Well, I mean, like now you're obviously, the director of business development at Leverade, and now it's kind of like the startup world, and we'll touch a little bit on that later in the podcast. But take us a little bit through like what are some of your key responsibilities, some of your tasks that you have with them.
Well, when I started last year, it was like a year ago approximately.
Hmm.
Leverade, Leverade has been doing a great job here in Spain, where the company is located. After several years in the market,
Mm.
almost 9 years, working with sports national federations, providing software technology for improving their operational efficiencies and trying to gather more ways of increasing their revenue
Right.
and the revenue streams. Um, so it was the time to start looking for customers and federations and organizations on the sport industry outside Spain. So that's why
Mm.
I jumped in with another colleague on the international department, business
Nice.
development, and we start to open in new markets.
Right.
Uh, contacting sports federations all over the world, assisting to events, congress, try to meet other sport and stakeholders in this industry.
Hmm.
At the end, to with the main goal, of course, of taking Leverade to the entire globe. So that's where we are, right in the middle of that path.
Right. Exciting journey though to be part of, and I guess like kind of like coming in there as you know the journey of I guess as well, blockchain, crypto, NFTs market, which
Interesting.
is kind of like booming crazy these days, in and outside sports, I would say. And I guess like from your side coming into that bubble, like going a little bit from the corporate side where things has been very traditional, in many ways, even in sports, and the sporting goods, going I guess into that bubble and that hype marketing sense. What have been some of the key challenges that you've been facing, and I guess like what are some of the great opportunities that have been presented in the market from your side?
Sure, let me comment first on the previous one. It was tough at the very beginning, and it's still a challenge for us to to being in contact with our potential customers,
Right.
prospect and partners, because uh, don't forget that we have a pandemic right in the middle, and all the business trips were canceled and stopped.
Right.
And so it's for us that we kind of live on that relationship that we have with the people taking decisions and
Hmm.
making decisions on the other side of the table. It's being hard because
Right.
we have to adapt ourselves to this kind of methodology on selling through a video conference, right?
We know
uh,
the feeling.
yeah, I'm pretty sure, I mean, everyone knows what I'm talking about, so it was
Right.
challenging.
Yeah.
And answering, going straight to your question, I mean, the corporate world, every corporation at the very beginning, on the earliest years, they were startups, right? I mean, there's no company that's just grown uh,
All right.
from nothing to $1 billion company. So I think that the co-living of the corporations or the corporate world and the startup technology, specifically about technology talking, uh, it's something that it's very, very useful, not only useful but very worth it for both worlds,
Mm.
because there you have positive things on on those new, on those worlds, for saying it somehow again, um, because corporations has, you know, they have their processes, they have their roles, their responsibility, their structures. They know what they're doing. They have been doing
Right.
for several years.
Yeah.
They have policies, and they have one people, not all of them, but they have one person for each of the responsibilities and the tasks and so on. And the startup world is entirely different, right? I mean, it's, you have to be very, very resilient and very adaptable to the reality that it's maybe sometimes lack of people, lack of
Right.
enough resources, lack of time, because you have to be doing a lot of things at the same time.
Mm.
But again, resilience, it's a key for it, because you need to understand it as a stage, right? And
Mm.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
you're kind of working for the future.
Right.
And but it's passionate. It's passionate because you really feel it. You really feel you're doing something from scratch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the comfort and the comfort of the corporate world, it's not there, but it's challenging, and I am really grateful for the opportunity.
Well, I guess in a sense, the lack of comfort, in a sense, it's also kind of like the opportunity that lies there, right? Because
Exactly.
you're sort of like creating your own pathway in the journey, and sort of like an untapped market. And obviously you mentioned, you know, some of the challenges, some of the differences here, like, you know, looking at the I guess in a sense the stage that you guys are in now. But if you wanted to like just talk a little bit about the opportunities that you've seen, and like coming in, you know, through the pandemic, coming in, like, you know, working here for a year, like what are some of the opportunities that you've been, you know, noticing, and that you kind of like now as well are like, okay, this is something that we have to explore further.
Well, I believe that especially and specifically with the pandemic and after the pandemic, what we have seen is a great opportunity for, and not only for the sports industry, but in general for the digitalization of everything, right, of the world and of the all the everything that it's involved somehow in our daily lives.
Right.
Um, it came from a need, of course,
Yeah.
during the pandemic. It didn't start with the pandemic, of course. Trends were and
Sure.
facts came before the pandemic, but they accelerated somehow, right?
Mm.
We all know that.
Yeah.
And in sports, it's an industry that um, I wouldn't say it's lack of technology, or it's lack of, because it's not, because there's a lot of
Mm.
work there, and there's a lot of um, and depending on which side of the industry you are talking about, there's more
Sure.
or there's less.
Sure.
But there are big opportunities, right?
Oh
Let's
yeah,
say it that
big time.
there are big opportunities for the future. And I think that leverage it in particular, we are following the natural path, right? I'm saying it somehow that we always have in mind, and the founders of the company had
Mm.
in mind, thinking especially on the community of sports, right?
Right.
Having the community and the people around sports as the main north, right? As and that's why our mission, and we always like to repeat it, it's we are working for making sports sustainable. And
Right.
which actually we believe it's actually makes the sport sustainable, it's the community around it, right?
Mm. Mm.
um, because we of course we can have players, we can have coaches, we can have federations or governing bodies or associations or even partners, you know,
Sure.
suppliers and many people and stakeholders working around the sports. But
Yeah.
if we don't have fans, if you do not have community, you don't have anything.
Right.
So we have that north, and I think that in that sense, thinking on blockchain, it was like the natural path to
Mm.
go through ahead into the future. And that's why we saw this opportunity, and we are working with it and try to um, helping and supporting the sports governing bodies on this way,
Right.
by generating, you know, additional revenue streams that will help them, you know, make their activities more sustainable.
Right.
And that's what we're working on.
Mm.
We have a great project ongoing, and we are looking forward to see the results, of course.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, like, but I think you're touching on something, you know, very important. And of course, like, just um, talking a little bit about that, I guess, natural pathway, right? Because I think like a challenge in, I mean, like generally in startup world and ecosystems is that you tend to kind of like drift away with sort of like what's trending, what's hyping, kind of like, you know, the bubbles, right? And then, you know, obviously, you know, there has to be like some sort of, you know, sustainability, natural process, and depending on, okay, what is your ultimate goal, right? And I mean, like it's clear for you guys, okay, this is the tool that we're using and have to use in order to like achieve, you know, our ultimate goal. And I guess also, you know, from you know, your viewpoint and your comment on, you know, I guess in a sense lack of technology. I understand what where you're saying and what you're going with it, because I understand completely, like, you know, this side of the industry. And I think, you know, the challenge, and I guess like perhaps has been a challenge for you guys too, is that bringing such a new technology into, I guess, more how can I say, lack of, you know, technology organization in that sense. It's a big jump for a lot of people. How do you kind of like, I guess, mitigate and help them, you know, understanding that, okay, that's, this is a tool, you know, this is a resource is going to help them, you know, actually, you know, it's going to create value for them and for their community and so forth.
That's a key things what you're mentioning. It's important because I mean, change is always a hard thing, right? I mean, it's
Right.
not only for sports organizations; it's
Oh yeah.
for everybody, every one of us in life.
Right.
Um, because it requires some energy, it requires some deliberation, right? And it requires some cost. Sometime at the same time when you're making decisions into change, right?
Hmm.
So if you decide to change or not, rather do it or not, I mean, it actually goes to the fact of being confident to do that step and make that step through.
Right.
And when you're talking about technology, uh, probably not that well known for a lot of people, right?
Hmm.
And not that incorporated into our, you know, daily tasks and daily operational side. It's tough. And I mean, and so we have to first convince and being, you know, very solid and very argumentative in the sense of, okay, this is what we are doing, this is what we are providing, and the benefits that you will, you know, being seen as outcomes of incorporating these tools, right?
Right.
And that's why I said before, the natural path, because
Hmm.
we started in
Yeah.
LEVERADE, we started as a technological partner providing tools for improving their operational efficiencies. Okay,
Right.
so we were not adding anything new. We were just, okay, these are tools that would help you continue doing what you are already doing. Okay, but they'll help you improve your tasks. They'll help you
Right.
get better results. Okay,
Right.
you'll be saving costs. You'll be generating additional results.
Hmm.
So we provide tools for competition organizing, for membership management, for internal and external communication, for,
Right.
you know, referees assignments. So that's where we started. And then
Yeah.
again, the natural path through the future, we saw it clearly through providing technology that will help these organizations into generating additional revenue streams. And that's where we saw the blockchain and the, you know, the tokenization and NFTs
Hmm.
uh, as a big opportunity for, again, generating additional revenue streams, but without forgetting the main north that we had, that is around communities. We
Right.
saw this a big opportunity, not only for the organizations, but also for involving the sport community around
Mm.
the sport.
No, 100%. It makes a lot of sense. And in that sense, I wanted to just talk a little bit, I guess, in a sense, the NFT market, because I mean, like, it's been booming quite crazy. I think everyone is kind of like, just what is an NFT? What is what is it used for? And there's so many, like, you know, names and words and associations. And then there's, you know, NFTs popping up everywhere. You're reading on, you know, Twitter, like how, you know, 12-year-olds are making NFTs, like all this stuff, right? And obviously now it's, you know, kind of like, you know, in a sense, coming into the sport industry as well. People are like, obviously, you know, through the blockchain, through like all this stuff, like, okay, NFTs is suddenly like an approach there. And I guess, like, from your guys' side, can you explain a little bit more about, what it is, how the companies, involved in this segment of, the industry?
Of course. What we are basically getting into it, we are offering the sports federations mainly, even though it's useful or would be useful for any other sports organization as well. We are focusing mainly on the sports federations.
Yeah.
We are doing offering the possibility of incorporating the blockchain technology by creating a token for the sport governing body, which of course will be available for the entire sport community. Okay.
Right.
And the most important thing is which utilities this token would have around it. Okay, it's not only a matter of acquiring and then selling. It's not just a trading thing, of course, that you have that possibility, because that's a fair thing we need always to be clear about. It's not speculation. This is not a cryptocurrency trading business. Okay. This is a sport business, and we see a big opportunity for creating tokens on sport governing bodies, belonging to sport governing bodies, and involving communities around it. And we are focusing, again, I cannot disclose everything what we are going to be building around it so far, but we are going to be working very hard on that part of the utilities and the functionalities that this tokenization of the federations are gonna be given to the sport community, which we hardly believe that it's what it makes it worth, right? It makes it sustainable again for the future.
Makes total sense. But this is why I had to ask this question, because I think especially now with like sort of what NFTs are perceived as and sort of what it is associated with, it is important to distinguish, right? That first of all, there's multiple, variants and angles, to work around with it. And there's pathways here that is not just, a property that, you're just going to be, buy and sold and go on the market and kind of run its own life cycle or whatever you want to call it. But this is okay, this is, we're making something here and are, bringing in this federation, these governing bodies in sports, and then benefiting the community, in sports. So that kind of gives an aspect of okay, well, now there's a clear path of how is this benefiting, not just that single individual or consumer, I guess, in a sense, that are in that, NFT bubble or process. And I think that's important to distinguish, and something that has to be elevated even more, I say, at a general basis, because it's as of now, it's very unclear unless you're in that bubble yourself. And so that's
absolutely. I mean, and the first thing that I think that we need all to understand is that we need to speak, clear. We have to be clear on the way that we transmit those ideas and the way we sell the product, because and the best way I found, Ole, to explain it is, I mean, just to give people some argument, it's a digitalization of assets, right? That's what we all know about this. And if we think, maybe if you first think about an NFT and you don't know, you haven't been involved on blockchain and on cryptocurrencies and NFTs, you don't know what it is. But I'm pretty sure you all have done something in life. I mean, at least you have had a credit card, right? Credit cards now are digital. Right. So there are a lot of aspects in our daily life that are already digitalized.
Right? Oh yeah, 100%.
And we proceed. We do not need the physical contact or the physical good in order to operate it. Okay.
Right.
And this is the same thing. I mean, this is something that it exists in the digital world. We don't need it physically, and we'll get used to it really fast.
Oh, yeah.
Once we get involved with it, once it gets more generalized and democratized, it's going to be a big opportunity, not only for I'm not just talking about sport organizations.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I mean, we clearly see this as the future.
No, it makes total sense, and it's very important, as you were saying too. Is like the message has to be clear, for people to understand, and for the fans, for the community to understand. Okay, what's the value here, and what's the value for the community, to be part of it. I wanted to go a little bit back, from when you were working at ASICS, as a country manager, and I guess working, and obviously you've been in like multiple major corporation, more of the corporate world of the industry, and going into the startup world. What has been some of your, I guess, key lessons, things that you brought with you, from the sport corporate world, like going into the startup world? Because as you were already talking about, it's huge difference. Like it's in different stages, different ways of thinking, and how to use. But what are some of the lessons you brought in with you?
And besides my experience and beyond my experience, what I believe, hard to believe, it's that both worlds, they need to collaborate more.
Yeah, that's good.
And this is a learning maybe that I got from kind of having the opportunity of witnessing the reality of a corporation and the reality of a startup. I think that both worlds, they do have an opportunity of a big opportunity of collaborating with each other. The corporate world has a lot to offer to the startup world in terms of experience, of course.
Right.
Again, they have already went through all the way somehow, and the startup world, they do have, or we have that entrepreneurship spirit, right? Of keeping everything fresh, and the speed on the startup world, it's kind of different,
right?
Everything happens at a different speed. And in corporations, for good or for bad, sometimes you have that bureaucracy, or that you have to accomplish some procedures and times, and there's a lot of people involved and so on, which is good. There's no other way that people have already found to govern in terms of governance. There are no other solutions so far, but again, the startup world, it's a lot more fresh in that sense. And that's why good ideas, they do have a quick development, and sometimes they can validate rapidly and go into the market very fast, and maybe they fail, or they might not have failed, or they might succeed, but it quickly.
Right.
So I think that, again, for highlighting, both worlds, they do have a big opportunity for collaboration, which actually do we not see very often.
Right.
I know there are some how do you say, the launch pods maybe on the different markets, mainly here in Europe and in the States, but that are helping corporations and startups to somehow get in touch and work together.
Right.
But that's the main thing, I would say. Big opportunity for collaborating between corporations and big companies and the startup world.
And it's so important too, if you think about it, because it's so critical for the growth and development of the sport industry as a whole. And although it's very organized, governmental, and quite structural as well in many ways, it takes time, in these established organizations to innovate, to like have those ideas and concepts themselves, right? And maybe not even like, we talk about time and resources, but the good things about being in the startup world, and I'm sure you saw this too, is just like the pace, right, of just getting things done, and how you can then integrate that into the more traditional organizations out in the sport industry there. But moving on, and I wanted to just talk a little about some tips that you have for students looking for a career in the sport industry. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about, like, I guess in a sense, general tips that you have for like people that are trying to break in, but also a little bit more advice for those that are trying to explore that how can I say, the new sports tech world, with blockchain and tokenization and all this stuff. What are some things that they should keep in mind?
They should be prepared. That's the first thing. I mean, and not only for sports industry and not only for technology, but in life in general, right? I mean, you have to be prepared.
Right.
If you want something, if you have a north, if you have a goal or an objective, you have to make sure you accomplish anything, everything you need to be there when the opportunity comes, and you have to be ready.
Right.
And the opportunity, of course, then the opportunity won't come alone, I mean, it just, you need to pursue it, right? You need to
Right.
go outside on the real world, make sure you're pursuing opportunities, make sure you're talking to people, right?
100%.
To the right people.
Right.
So be prepared would be my first tip. Just make sure you have a plan, right? Let's make sure you have a goal, a clear goal that you would like to accomplish in life. If it's a professional goal in the sports industry in general, then just make sure that there are ways of being prepared.
Right.
Of course, on the formal education side, there are nowadays they might not. We didn't have the same opportunities as today, right? There were not, for example, sport management careers in the past, or MBAs in sports management as there are today. So, but there are formal education side of being prepared, making sure you're acquiring all the tools. Then building a good network, it's also important. You pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. So building a good network, so you are involved in the sports in the sports industry with professionals that are already working there. Having the opportunity of going into events and seminars and congress that somehow will get you there,
Right.
because and you have to pursue the opportunities. But make sure you have a goal, make sure you have a plan for acquiring that goal or pursuing that goal, and then it's action, right? Just do it.
Just do it. Nike.
Yeah, there's no ways of, not only if you just dream about it, it's not going to happen, right?
Right.
I mean, you have to dream about it first, then you have to make a plan, and then you have to go for it. And there are big opportunities. That's also something that it's tough to see at the very beginning when you are planning, when you are dreaming. It's not that clear. You cannot say that clear way. So it's important that to know and be sure that opportunities are outside there if you look for them.
Right. No, 100%. And I think it's a great advice for people to keep in mind. And I really enjoy what you were saying in terms of being prepared, right? Because for what we see, and also, like, I mean, it's an understandable challenge, in sports as well, is that it's good having good, like, big goals, big dreams, like maybe working for Real Madrid, Manchester United, all this good stuff, right? But then I think it comes down to that preparation, right? And then being prepared, of knowing that yes, you can have that goal of working for Premier League club like La Liga, whatever you want, right? A massive goal, but understand that that's going to take you time. It's not going to happen right after graduation. There's a lot of work that has to be put in in order to achieve that. So alongside with, like, setting that goal, setting that dream that you have, do the preparation first to understanding, what do I have to do in order to reach that goal, and understanding too that there's many ways to reach your goal. And I guess, like, from your experience to being in both the startup world and in the corporate sport business, like, did you ever plan to go into the sports tech startup, young company world, or did that, how did that
it wasn't my dreams. I mean, of course I pursue it
Oh yeah.
somehow, right?
Oh yeah.
But
for sure.
it was on my dreams because I was working already, and I had my career on the sports industry already.
Right.
And when I decided here with my family to move into Spain, I had a that's another interesting thing. Uh, I had the opportunity of starting all over again, right?
Right.
I mean, and that's also a life decision that I made. Not understandable for everyone. I was questioned several times about why did you left, why did you moved on, and why did you left the previous company and you were so comfortable. I mean, sometimes when you are pursuing something, you just need to get out of your comfort zone. You just need
Oh yeah.
to break and make accidents happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are accidents that you cannot control. I'm not saying that, but
Oh yeah.
you can provoke accidents, right?
Right.
And
Sure.
when I decided to move here into Spain, for example, I didn't know where I was gonna work, right?
Right.
I didn't know if I was gonna have the opportunity of keep on working on the sports industry and specifically on technology, which was something I was looking for because
Right.
technology kind of
For
we are
sure.
right in the middle of that revolution. So I just
Right.
wanted to be there. And with this blockchain world coming ahead of us, again, it's a vanguard, this thing that I wanted to be there. I want to
Yep.
be where change is happening. I want to be where the
Right.
impact it's being provoked. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know how, if I was going to have that opportunity, right?
Right. Right.
So I had to start it from the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I broke the status quo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I moved up here into Spain and started looking for the opportunity again. Initially, as a way of starting all over again, and then of course looking into the appropriate places and knocking the appropriate doors and talking to people. I had this opportunity with LEVERADE of again continuing my career in the sporting goods and sorry, in the sports industry, um, and specifically in technology, that it was something that I was dreaming of. But
Awesome.
it's pursuing. Somehow you don't know how to do it, but you need to start somehow and provoke that action.
Right. Right. No, I think it's a perfect way, to wrap up this podcast, Fernando. And it's if there's some things that people need to take from this is being prepared to get out of your comfort zone and just go for it. Just work for it. Have big goals and big dreams, but make sure to be prepared and work for it, and understanding that sometimes you just got to break the status quo. It's part of the journey.
Yeah, precisely. And the being prepared part is very important. And I
Yeah.
want to highlight that because if not, it just maybe sometimes people kept always the good sounds with it,
Mm,
with the idea, and it just maybe it might be understood as just jump into the. No, it's not just jump into the pool. I mean, you just need to jump into the pool, but you just need to make sure there's water on it, right?
oh, for sure.
If not, you get yourself kicked. So no, but it's important, right? You need to be prepared. You should have a plan, right?
Mm,
That plan is not gonna give you 100% certainty for the future.
no, no.
Definitely not. Okay, but at least you have a plan. You have a plan A. You have a plan B, and if things go the way you dream, the the good feeling about it, it's really it's really comfort. So
Absolutely.
comfortable.
Well, Fernando, I would like to thank you, so much for taking the time, for sharing your tips and insights with all of us. And for those of you, that have been listening all the way to the end, make sure to like the video if you haven't already, and subscribe as well. And hope to see you all in the Sporting Global platform. Obviously, you can sign up for free. Download the app as well. It's free, iOS and Android. Whatever you have, it can be right in your palm. Find jobs, connect with Fernando. Follow LEVERADE as well, like see what job opportunities that are there as well. So there's always good stuff, so make sure to check that. And you talked about being out of your comfort zone, and I have to put you put you a little bit on the spot here, with the with that. And you might already know, but we have like this tradition, right, in the Sporting Global podcast where I'm teaching every guest a little bit Norwegian. It's just a way of us, to just keep that Norwegian touch on Sporting Global. Because that's important, you're talking about, being clear, being, following your vision and your journey. And for us, we can't remember that, we can't forget that we're Norwegian at the end of the day. And so with every video we do, we always finish with "Vi snakkes," which means see you later in Norwegian. So that's what you have to say.
Vi snakkes?
Vi snakkes.
Vi snakkes?
There you go. Great job. All right, perfect.
I can live in Norway already. I can live in Norway.
Oh yeah, 100%. You're practically local at this point.
Thank you so much, Ole. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you thank you everyone in the community, and we look forward to lots of success also in the future upcoming with Global in Sports.
All right, thank you so much, Fernando. We'll talk very soon, and for the rest of you, vi snakkes.